Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hi guys, Alex Stevenson, Jake Face here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. Today we'll be talking about our F&M results. I'm playing a different deck, and Jake tweaked his deck as well. So we've got definitely some stuff to talk about. Before that, if you're a new listener, go to seemsgoodmagic.com, and that's where I post all my draft videos for the standard environment and the cube videos as well, and sometimes other weird formats too. Like I think we drafted Mirage for sure, and we've done Urza's Block, I think too, a couple times. So we're interested in all the different formats. It's cool that they kind of cycle through all of the old sets, put them all on there eventually. Also follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic, and I post or tweet when new stuff's coming up, new content. I also just recently got involved with the Reddit community, so I'm trying to post more on that, and that's actually a really cool resource, and that's subreddit Magic TCG. So check those out. And we're seemsgoodmagic.com is our username on Reddit. Okay, so I'm just going to start off talking about my standard list that I'm playing and what I played against on Friday. So I just recently switched from Red Deck Wins, sort of a creature aggro version of it, to the red-white burn list. And this is my first F&M playing with it. And the list I got was pretty similar to one of the players on Channel Fireball. They had posted a video, and I'm sorry I can't reference it. Like, I don't know what their name is. But the sideboard, some of the sideboard options were definitely influenced by that list. The rest of the main deck was pretty much there's a lot of that burn list floating around, so it wasn't just him. But his sideboard options seemed a bit unique. But the main deck is 4 Chandra's Phoenix, 4 Ash Zealots as the only creatures, and 4 Mutabolts. But then the spells are 3 Toil and Trouble, 4 Magma Jet, 4 Lightning Strike, 4 Searing Blood, 4 Skullcrack, 4 War Leader Celix, 2 Chain to the Rocks, and 4 Boros Charm. So it's just got a ton of high damage, low cost burn, and Magma Jet's actually incredible in this deck because you don't ever want to flood out. You never really actually need more than 4 mana. And 4 is really a magic number in here because it lets you cast 2 of your 3 damage burn spells at 2. So, and your War Leader Celix. So it gives you some really good options. I think Skullcrack is really important for the main deck because there's actually a lot of life gain in Standard right now. Elixir of Immortality, but also, Sphinx's Revelation, to be more exact. And Grey Merchant of Asphodel. You still lose the life, by the way, from Grey Merchant. I think some people seem to forget that, but you definitely get to turn off the life gain, which is very important, and that's really how you win the game sometimes. Like, I've definitely won against Blood Baron of Vizkopa due solely to 2 back-to-back turns of skull cracking. So it can be really good, but I saw a list that had, I believe, gotten second at a recent SCG tournament that was this, and it was sideboarding the Skullcrack, so I was surprised. But the Toil and Trouble was kind of a weird main deck idea. In total, I only got to cast it twice on Friday. 1 for 6 damage against a blue-white control player, and 1 for 4 damage against a red deck Wins, but it was kind of a newer player, so that one's not as impressive. But it didn't really come up that much. But I had commented on the Channel Fireball video, and he responded saying that it was surprisingly bad, Toil and Trouble. But I still wanted to kind of try it and see what it's like in our meta, because we don't have as much aggressive stuff. We have more mid-rangey and control, and I feel like it's actually really good in that match. And in fact, the list was main decking Shocks, which I decided to sideboard instead, for that very reason. I think he probably sideboards out of shock a lot of the time, but I think main reason he was main decking shocks was because of the green-white aggro list.
Mm.
He wanted good outs to like Elvish Mystic and
Yeah.
any sort of ramp, or even Experiment 1 early on or something like that. Because I guess that was kind of like, that deck can get really good turn progressions.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know,
Already
like
sounds
Experiment
really good,
1
yeah.
into Voice, into...
Or even like Elvish Mystic into Experiment 1 on turn 2, into Voice to evolve at that turn. You know? I don't know. That's maybe not the best line of play, but still.
I'm actually curious if they always play Elvish Mystic. Maybe the aggro list doesn't, but I feel like they want to play Advent on turn 3 or something, you know. Well, it doesn't even matter because it's not in our meta right now.
We don't have it in at all. It seems like white-green is not there at all.
So I almost don't need to, you know, main deck Shock yet, unless there is a Rakdos sort of aggro hasty list that is floating around and is getting popular, and Shock main deck is actually really important at that. I mean, you got to stop the Spike Jesters and stuff like that.
Right.
But anyway, okay, so the mana base is just 2 Boros Guildgate, 4 Temple of Triumph, and 4 Sacred Foundry, 8 Mountains, 4 Mutavault. So it has 10 sources of red and white, which is actually really nice. I'm missing white a lot less. I feel like I missed out on it more in my last red deck, and adding the 2 Boros Guildgate actually does help a lot and doesn't really hinder the deck speed too bad.
Yeah, at least you're burned, so it's not like you necessarily always need it that turn.
It's true. This deck doesn't take off as fast as the creature aggro list, but Burning Tree Emissary, I just don't like that it can't be played as well as it used to be able to be played. Now you have to sort of play around Bile Blight, so you have to play like Burning Tree and have a different 2-drop. You can't like chain your Burning Trees for value anymore, and that was the main reason I played them, because when you got 3 out on turn 2, it was game over so much of the time. Even against the turn 4 Supreme Verdict, getting 3 Burning Trees on turn 2, I guess they have Detention Sphere, so you did have to play around that. Well, alright, against some decks. I guess actually Control would be good against chaining Burning Trees, even from the past. But
I actually got to do that this...
I'm sure. Well, now that Bile Blight's in too, and Drown in Sorrow, there's just like so many ways to kill Burning Tree, which sucks. But that's kind of the way it is, so I don't think it's definitely not what this deck wants to do. Round 1 I played against a Red Deck Wins player. He's like a really new player, so he didn't really stand a chance. He wasn't even playing tournament legal cards, so I'm just gonna skip over that one. Round 2 I played against Black Red Aggro, and this is a player in our meta who's been playing it for a few weeks now. It's a good deck. It's like Spike Jesters, Pain Seers. It's kind of crazy. It's a little suicidal almost. But like Mogus's Marauders, Exava, Stormbreath Dragon. It's like a lot of haste. But it's also Cacklers too. And then it's like good removal like Hero's Downfall. And I want to say there's some other ones too. But it's a good list. He had to mulligan. He was missing land drops. I was like searing blooded his Cacklers and Pain Seers and stuff. So I was getting value off that, and then I was just burning them out. So I totally burned them out 2 games in a row. And this deck can be really punishing if it doesn't, if it's not threatened. You definitely get enough resources to burn people out. Like there's no question. It's so consistent. Like it would be so much more rare to not have enough cards to burn their face. You really just the sheer amount in this deck. And Ash Zealot and Chandra's Phoenix can do a little bit of work on their own too, which is nice against, you know, some
how
decks.
did you see yourself using those?
Ash Zealot I preferred it to hold on to my burn spells and use Ash Zealot early. You know, you want to get in there for sure. And Chandra's Phoenix, same sort of deal.
Always that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's cool when sometimes you can use it for like chump blocking. It's really crazy. You can like burn them for 2, replay your Phoenix, and then let it die to like blocking a Desecration Demon. And then you like burn them for 2.
That
it's
seems like a
you know what I mean?
decent line of play when you're the burn deck that wants to just burn you. And actually, Chandra's Phoenix in particular versus Desecration Demon is very good because one turn you can have it just be sacrificed to it, or you can always attack through it, basically, as long as you're sacrificing it on their turn to tap it down.
That's true.
You know, so Chandra's Phoenix in particular seems really good against Desecration Demon.
Yeah, it's cool.
In
Sometimes
this
it
deck.
can sometimes it can get a little clunky if I have like 2 or 3 in my hand. I
Yeah.
almost could see it being at 3.
hmm
But some people I'm sure would argue against it. It's really like if you're playing
Because it
against
recurs itself, it feels like
it's
it
true.
would be
It's
fine at 3.
I really don't like it against Night Veil Spectre. It feels really weak against that. There's a lot of black floating around
hmm
and a lot of Night Veil Spectres being played,
Well,
especially in
can't
mono
you
blue as well.
Searing Blood the Night Veil after combat and
Yeah,
then get it back still?
it's more stuff to worry about
Yeah.
than this deck wants to.
hmm
It doesn't want to deal with stuff like that. It just wants to Searing Blood early and then, Magma Jet to fix if it has to, or
I
just
see.
Skullcrack and Lightning Strike the
Mhm.
hell out of them. And then the 2 Chain of the Rocks, some people are doing 4 ofs,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's necessary. Um, it depends on your meta. It's total meta call,
Yeah.
so I have no problem if people are doing 4. So I was happy to beat that list 2-0. He did have some issues, so I don't think it's an easy match for me. He runs Whip of Erebus, and I'm actually going to be changing my sideboard. I should go over my sideboard real quick. So I have 2 Shocks, 4 Fire Drinker Satyrs, 3 Vyashno First Blade, 2 Spark Trooper, 2 Mizium Mortars, and 2 Chain of the Rocks. So the guy from China Fireball was the one who gave me the idea for the First Blades and the Spark Troopers. He also was doing Blind Obedience, which I am going to add, I think, too. But the Fire Drinker Satyrs and the Vyashno First Blades come in against control, and they're really good. They really force the control player to still keep in Supreme Verdicts and still keep in, and then try and find space to jam in some counter magic for burn. You know what I mean? Like they have to really be on point of what they're going to be taking out of their deck to replace that.
hmm
It's like, oh, I run 4 Supreme Verdict. Maybe I need to run 3 and a counter spell. I mean, you would know. How would you sideboard if it's like turns into more of a 16 creature, 23 spell deck?
I'll assume you take out all of your Searing Bloods against me.
And the Chain of the Rocks for
and
sure.
the Chain of the Rocks.
So
you're taking out 6 to add 6.
So I'm
At
bringing in
least.
the First Blades and the Satyrs, and I think I just took out one, I believe one Toil and Trouble. Is that right?
I feel like you would leave in Toil and Trouble and maybe take out Chandra's Phoenix if you were adding more creatures.
Yeah, I guess I could do that. I don't remember. I feel like I took out one Toil and Trouble just because I had enough at 3 with the First Blades. I felt like they would be more effective.
I feel like Toil and Trouble is really good against control, but
Definitely.
I guess if you're afraid of it getting countered on 3 always, then that's a fair point,
But I mean, what are you taking out? How are you going to balance when it's like 16 creatures, 23 spells?
Yeah.
What are you going to take out? That's why I feel like it's a tough deck for control because it is two directly different types of threats that you have to be very reactionary against the entire time. So the best tools you have against it are like Syncopate and Dissolve, the hard counters, because then at least it deals with everything. But yeah, I think that's actually just the case.
Yeah.
I think that's the way you do it.
If you've got those main deck, you might actually stand a chance against this main deck too, but the control just will have an issue with this deck because you're running the Skullcrack's main deck,
So they can't bank on the Sphinx's Revelation necessarily.
They have to do it almost in response to you burning them at the end of their turn, just to raise themselves up enough.
That's true.
I think that's actually the better line of play because if you're not going to counter that burn spell, then there's no advantage to waiting.
Well, I played Esper Control round 3, and it was mostly like a blue-white deck with just splashing black for some removal, at least out of the sideboard. And I beat that 2-0, so yeah, I mean, it was just the Toil and Trouble, I think he was running too many Scrylands. I'm remembering this match better now. He was running a lot of Scrylands, so it was just too slow of a start. Like I could get in with Ash Zealot a couple times. He was playing like Supreme Verdict to kill Chandra's Phoenix. So it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't have any spot removal, like, yeah,
This
that's harsh.
It is. This deck's inherently good against control, I think, because it makes them want to keep in their detention spheres too. But then it's like, ugh, it's like the only things I can hit are Ashzel and Chandra's
Yeah, and
Phoenix.
actually, haste creatures with detention sphere is like a big fu. You know,
Yeah,
I
but
would bring in blind obedience against you too.
that's probably a good idea
You know.
because you gotta hope that you just play. It will definitely be good against the Phoenix and the
Yeah.
Ashzel, so that's a good call.
Because then I can still leave in a few supreme verdicts at least and feel like I can actually get them. You know.
And life gain is so important
Mhm.
for you too. So.
And actually, yeah. Well, I can talk about it later, but
All right, well, I beat that. It was just too slow. I had a great start. I love the way this deck plays, by the way, if you're looking for a good deck against control, because it does feel very good to be like, I don't even care about Supreme Verdict right now. It's like, I'm on a completely different plan. I'm forcing them to have counter spells on their turn with my instant speed burn, and then on my turn I get to do whatever I want, you know? And you have to decide if it's like, do I have to counter this burn, or do I counter the burn he's going to do on his turn? So Dispel's a really good one to have. So if this becomes a big threat, you pack some. If you ever just pack 4 Dispels,
Yeah.
I bet you could just wreck face.
this deck would, it wouldn't die, but this would be a hard win.
You need that
Yeah.
kind of hard counter
Mhm.
that you can do multiples in a
two.
turn.
Like if
Yeah.
if you need to. You know?
Totally. So that's a good answer, I
Mhm.
guess. I'm telling you my weak spots here.
Yeah.
But that's something I need to be conscious of too.
I play Swan Song, but it's like totally against a different thing. Giving you a 2/2 on my turn isn't good.
I played Esper Control again round 4, and I beat that 2-0 as well. So in top 8, I mean, not much to say about it. It was pretty much the same as last time. I just had too quick of a start. This is the one where I resolved the Toil and Trouble, I think, for 6. And I was devastating. So just being able to leave up Skullcrack and burning them with other spells while they're trying to find a good opportunity to Sphinx's Revelation is just insane. Because it only costs you 2, but they want to invest at least 6 in their Sphinx's Revelation. So they got to have like 8 if they want to leave up like any sort of counterspell with it. And it's more like 9, unless it's negate.
I don't even know. Like, I see that Jace could be an advantage at sometimes against you, but I feel like I would take out my Kioras at least.
Yeah.
And probably at least one Jace, because I'm using it to draw cards, and really I just need to have the answer at that time. You know, you're not drawing cards, you're just burning me. You know, so like as long as I can, a 4-drop isn't going to be played on turn 4. You know, not against your deck, in my opinion.
That's true.
And unless I'm really desperate, I guess. But a Jace isn't going to be played there, so might as well take one out, you know. I think the Revs would come out at least 1, too.
No, yeah, it's probably a good idea. It might be just too clunky. I mean, it is like your saving grace card, though, at the same time.
Yeah, but it's like your saving grace card. It needs to be later in the game, then. Because you've got the Skull... If you've already proven to me that you've gotten skull cracks, you know?
You just need hard counters.
Yeah.
I think that's the way you beat this deck. Hard counters because it's diverse threats. So you need to be able to do a lot. You need to pack a lot of syncopates, and maybe they're bad in other matches, but in this match I feel like syncopate's going to be really good because I'm usually tapping out to burn you. In top 8 I played against Naya Auras, and this is actually like a reality check. So I lost against this 0-2. So this is actually like a deck that could easily destroy me, and I saw the weakness. I knew the weakness going in because I'd scouted and watched him play a little bit. So he was main decking Unflinching Courages with hexproof creatures, which is just nightmarish for me, especially since I'm not packing sideboard hate for, you know, like wear and tear, which I am going to add, by the way, because I like that it stops Herald of Torment in the black-red deck, but also Whip of Erebus, so I can at least have a good out for that.
Yeah. And alternatively,
it destroys both at once.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Destroy the artifact. Yeah, and my deck can do it. So I want to pack a couple of those sideboard. I don't know necessarily how I'm going to find space for it, but I'll figure that out. So yeah, it was close actually. Game 1 he just destroyed me. It came down to like an Ajani, and I decided to start attacking him instead because I didn't think he was packing a lot of creatures, but because I had burnt like Searing Blood for the next creature he played, but he just got enough threats where he outdrew me. and then the Ajani just, you know,
Yeah,
took over, made the guy
a million.
too big,
Yeah.
out of burn range. Couldn't get the Chain of the Rocks. But game 2 was actually came down to I had 3 mana. He was at 7 life. He was at 7 life, and I passed the turn to him. He had a Voice of Resurgence, an Elemental token from a Voice of Resurgence, and he had uh, like a Witch Stalker, a 3/3 hexproof. So on his turn, he plays Unflinching Courage, and he attacks on the Witch Stalker. He attacks for 5. So he attacks for 5, 8, 10. Yeah, he attacks for 10. I skull crack him so he doesn't gain the life, and I bring him to 4. I'm sitting on double Lightning Strike and a War Leader's Helix in my hand,
Oh no.
and I have 3 mana, so I
Oh,
need to
no.
top deck a land, and I don't get it.
Uh,
But I could have easily won that game too.
yeah. It would have been actually more aggravating if it was one of your tap lands, you know.
Yeah, that's true. If it was a Guildgate or a Temple, that would
Yeah.
have sucked. But any land would have done it. But so I still actually did okay
Yeah.
against it. Skullcrack came in handy once again.
Mhm.
I like that you have outs for blood. It's almost like an out for Blood Baron and stuff, you know. If
Yeah.
you have it, I mean, you better kill him quick. You
Yeah,
only
yeah.
get you only get 1 or 2 more turns.
But if they're playing Blood Baron, it's because they plan on going low on life usually.
Exactly. It extends it. It
Mhm.
really, the 1 turn extension that it gives you is really all you need to
Yeah.
get there.
It's true.
So it's cool
Hmm.
how that works. So all in all, I'm really happy with the deck. I can easily sideboard to answer that next time if that's a big issue, you know.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I really like it. I think this is a fun deck. I'm planning on playing it more. Maybe tweaking a little bit of the Chandra's Phoenix number. Possibly. We'll see. All right, Jake, you want to talk about your results?
Yeah.
Or maybe your deck changes first.
Yeah, I did change my deck. I thought that our meta was going to be shifting to more of this aggro style deck, the black one in particular that had haste, because I died to it twice on Monday of last week before Friday. So I changed my deck. I took out a couple planeswalkers. One Vraska, one Elspeth came out. And then I added, well, I took out some other spells I can't remember off the top of my head, but I added Quicken, Golgari Charm, Hero's Downfall, and 2 Drown in Sorrows. So I must have taken out a Detention Sphere as well, and a Far and Away. So I kind of just played with the numbers a little bit, and I wanted to have the Drown in Sorrow for the early aggro decks, especially the haste one. And I added more black mana, so I think I added 1 of each of the shock lands, and then an additional temple in each of those colors, or each of the black ones. I think that's what I did. Anyway, so I can just run down the list now, I guess. So it was 3 Ashiok, 2 Kiora, 4 Jace, 1 Vraska, 1 Elspeth, 1 Elixir of Immortality, 1 Quicken, 1 Rapid Hybridization, 1 Swan Song, 1 Doomblade, 1 Golgari Charm, 1 Last Breath, 1 Nullify, 1 Hero's Downfall, 1 Far Away, 4 Sphinx's Revelation, 2 Drown in Sorrow, 4 Supreme Verdict, and 3 Detention Sphere. And then 1 Breeding Pool, 2 Godless Shrine, 3 Hallowed Fountain, 1 Temple Garden, 3 Temple of Deceit, 3 Temple of Enlightenment, 2 Temple of Mystery, 2 Temple of Plenty, 3 Temple of Silence, 2 Water Grave, 2 Islands, and 2 Plains.
Jeez, it's a lot of temples that
Yeah.
it's running.
It is. And subsequently, after I played it, I lost. Well, I went 2-1-1. And I don't know, I wasn't like thrilled with the changes. And going deeper into black was exactly what I was trying to avoid, actually, when I first made the deck. I wanted everything else that wasn't blue-white to just be kind of splashes. And adding the black really showed me how detrimental that mana base can be, you know, going with those more shock lands. I had 6 basics initially, and now I had, you know, only 4. Just that small change actually really affected some of my ability to survive and go long game.
I see.
So I'm going to be changing it back to the way it was, and I think I'll just maybe play a Golgari Charm because that's kind of cool. I really did like how that played. It answered a lot of things. But I can just run through my list too, or my matches. So I played against a mono red burn deck, and we went 1-1 draw. Uh, and I don't know what to say. It was kind of weird. He killed me like really quickly in the first game, I think it was, or something like that. And then second game, or maybe no, it was first game I stabilized at 1 and came back to beat him at 1.
Wow.
And then in the second game it all clicked for him and he was able to beat me. But he had the burning earth in the first game, so it was just like madness. He had 2 Satyr Fire Dancers, which are like no good against me except he can just keep pinging me. So he had the burning earth out. I had all non-basics out, and I had a Jace in my hand. So I had to play the Jace just so that I could prevent that 2 damage every turn, and then hope and because I was plussing Jace, I eventually got to ultimate him to get a Vraska to kill the Burning Earth so that I could play cards again, from my
That's
hand.
funny.
Yeah.
What did you take from his deck? Do you remember?
I think it was just a burn spell. Maybe not, maybe just Magma Jet so that I could scry too.
Well, he was running Gutter Snipes.
Yeah. Oh, no, I stole Gutter Snipes off of Ashiok from him, and that's how I killed him in that game.
That's cool.
Yeah. He never went after my Ashiok until it was just to keep it down from
Ultimate.
Ultimate.
I see. But he was probably getting rid of his hand fast anyway, so kind of irrelevant.
But then in game 3, I think neither one of us could just get enough steam to go, and I'm there to answer, and I had taken out Elspeth from my deck, so I had lost a win condition when I changed the deck and didn't realize how much slower that was going to make the deck. And that actually ended up being what I think it was that made us draw that game.
Yeah, I think you were hoping to win off Ashiok, stealing his guys, but that can be tough.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, that was round 1. Then round 2, I played against red-white aggro. This is a fine matchup for me when you're a creature-based deck, and you have some blank spells with Mizium Mortars and Chain of the Rocks, and I know you have some blank spells. It's good because I can play Ashiok and not really be afraid of anything, because if you have to play more, I can just wipe the board then.
Was it mostly white aggressive, or was it red?
It was mostly red. It was like Ash Zealots. It was haste, guys.
Okay.
But it wasn't burn. Yeah, there were burning trees. Gorehouse Chain, or is it Gorehouse Chainwalker? Yeah. I'm trying to think of what other things there were. It was just generally similar to your list.
That last list that I was playing.
Yeah.
I see. So just kind of creature heavy.
Yeah.
Fire Fist Striker and stuff.
I think there were. And Rakdos Cackler for sure.
Okay.
So it was all that, and
yeah, you have a good deck for that.
Yeah, I sided into the 2 Blind Obedience that I brought in.
Nice.
Those were new additions after you were telling me about that guy from Channel Fireball talking about those and his sideboard. I was like, oh, that's such a good idea.
And how did you get your sideboard card?
Yeah, and Blind Obedience came up real big against that deck.
That's really
especially against the Chandra's Phoenix and the Ash Zealot.
Nice.
Even getting them back and being able to play it that turn is that's fine,
Yeah.
But I won that one 2-0. Then I played Esper Control in round 3, and this was just hard. His Esper Control is really blue-white, and he has a lot of counter spells. This is Tyler's deck. So he actually can answer me basically whenever he wants, because I'm the control deck that's tap-out control. I'm just going to play a big, this is the thing that's going to stop you now, and, now work on this, just put out too many different things that you have to concentrate on. That's my flame, So when he gets to just counter every one of them turn after turn, it's well, I'm not going to win this, And then, in the first game in particular, I realized that I didn't put 4 cards from from my main deck back into it after sideboarding, but I had sideboarded out the other 4 cards that were from my sideboard. So I was playing with a 56 card deck in the first game too. So I was looking for the answers that I had sideboarded out against red-white aggro, like Golgari Charm and Vraska, to answer the detention spheres that he had played on my planeswalkers, and I drew through literally my entire deck and couldn't find him. And then when I was like sideboarding, then I found him, and I was like, oh, very annoyed. Anyway, then I was kind of tilted in the second game and did not win it. But I also got mana screwed in that game. It was like kind of color hosed, and then also mana screwed just stopped at 4, and this deck really needs to get past 4 when it runs 26 lands,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just disappointing, but whatever. It happens. And I think that the blue-white control deck is just better against this style of control deck because I am playing things that I tap out for, I don't even have that much going for me post-sideboard except that I can go, ha, Swan Song instead, and sometimes get them. But then I played Mono Black Devotion in round 4, and I won 2-0. I beat her with Vraska tokens in the second game, and it was so awesome. The play was awesome. She Bile Blighted my token, I Swan Songed it, and then she activated her Mutavault so that she could block with it. And before blockers, I far and away the token and made her sack the Mutavault. So they all got through. All my tokens got through. And won me the game.
Nice. And you ended up 2-1?
Yeah, 2-1-1. And I finished 9th place overall, which is like, whatever. It was cool. I was fine with the deck, I guess, but Drown in Sorrow, wasn't really worth adding the trouble.
Yeah, changing the mana base.
Yeah, and there was so much more consistency before. I think I'm just going to go back to it. Having access to the Hero's Downfall came in handy once. I got to kill an Elspeth with it, and then the following turn I got to Detention Sphere the tokens away. So it actually, I didn't have to use my Detention Spheres to take out the Elspeth. But overall, not really worth the trouble. It'd be probably just better to run a hard counter if I was that concerned about an Elspeth,
Did you know there was a Star City list that recently kind of similar to yours?
Oh, no, I didn't.
There's like a Planeswalker one. We can check it out. Why don't we do that after Weird Harvest?
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
All right, Weird Harvest this week, folks. Weird Harvest. All right, Weird Harvest is the segment where we talk about weird cards from the past. And you're thinking maybe weird in what way? Like weird the way they, play? And no, we're specifically talking about the name of these cards and the picture on these cards too. So this week is Face Vaulter from Lorwyn. Yeah, that's kind of a funny name. So it's 1 black for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior, and then pay a black and sack a Goblin, and Face Vaulter gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this is a Goblin ability we've actually seen on a lot of red Goblins, right?
Mhm.
Or at least the
Similar,
Goblin
yes.
Skirmisher or
Usually
Slider,
it's
maybe?
like actually sack for free and
So
give
black
target,
makes
Goblin,
you pay
yeah.
for it, but
but that's fine. It's still cool, I think.
yeah, I mean limited playable.
Yeah.
There was some Goblin tribe action going on, so you could probably make it work.
Well, it's a 1-drop. You can send it in alone as like their fear of it being a 5/5 or whatever, on when they block.
So why don't you describe what's going on in this picture of Face Vaulter?
Okay. So he has a bone tomahawk with a saber tooth as the axe blade, and then he has horns, I guess, ram horns, and a horse nose.
Yeah.
The goblin does, and he's literally used his friend's face as a jumping vault, and yeah, it's very literal. Face vaulter. He's using the face to vault with.
And his buddy's face is priceless.
Yeah.
It's like
He does not look. He looks sacrificed. He does.
I was gonna say he looks like he's used to it. Like he's used to his buddy's face falling off of him because he doesn't
He-
look bothered by it.
He already
almost-
has the indentation of his foot from past
So,
experiences.
I don't know. Something about this picture today really made me laugh.
Yeah, I like
Chuckle.
Wayne Reynolds' art, in particular from this era, Lorwyn and then into Shards of Alara. There were some really good ones that he did.
Yeah. So we'll have to go back to more Lorwyn block and Shadowmoor block.
Mhm.
Those were two separate blocks, right?
Yeah, you drafted them separately and played them separately, but when you play block constructed, it's Lorwyn Shadowmoor block constructed.
It's all together?
Yeah.
Wait, how does that work? Oh, just no Eventide?
No, it's if you do block constructed, like
Oh,
if
you
it-
can play all four.
Yeah,
Oh,
all
I
four
see.
would be
Oh.
available, but
Oh,
like
that's
in
kinda
a
cool. Okay.
draft or whatever sealed, it
You
would be
just
only
do-
the two
Okay.
of each.
Yeah, that's kind of an unusual one.
Mm.
But I'm sure there's some weird stuff in Shadowmoor as well.
Oh, there's so much weird stuff. Noggles, we can just say that's a preview.
Before we close out, I want to show you that. Let's talk about that list. I want to show it to you. See what you think. We can talk about it. It was just. Well, I saw there was a Planeswalker list. This has been kind of updated. Looks like a red, white, burn list won though. In the most recent event that I see. Well, there was for sure a Planeswalker deck. Let's see. Standard Planeswalker deck. Star City Games. Maybe I can't find it. Thought for sure it was here.
There's only one page, I guess.
Well, I guess I'll have to look for it some other time.
Wow, Mono Blue Devotion.
That was an old one though,
That's
or at
funny.
least last week. Well, it looks like red, white, burn, black, white, mid range. Interesting.
What's the next page on this one?
There's a Rakdos mid range list. That might be the right ticket though. Maybe it's on the second page or something. It was a cool sounding deck for sure.
It had a sweet name.
Maybe not, but
Oh.
it was definitely a name that enticed me to.
Look upon it further.
Because I was like, oh, I wonder how similar it is to Jake's list, and it was pretty similar. I'm not sure. Maybe they just didn't list it. It was just like a one-time thing. And then they took it down because they didn't have all of these lists available. Well, that's kind of disappointing. I'm sorry to end on that note, but that's it for this week. So, hope you're enjoying all of the Born of the Gods drafts. If you've been watching them, they've been pretty fun. I've been going back and forth between 8-4s and switches like crazy. So, I've been winning a fair amount. It'd be nice to actually be able to qualify for the PTQ this season. I mean, I don't even know when that it is exactly.
What do they do for the PTQ online? Is it?
It's like all the rounds you would do at a PTQ from your house.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Way better than going
Oh, getting up. Yeah, at least you can stay in your house and be
Yeah.
comfortable, you know.
and eat whenever you want, eat whatever you want.
And get up and go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
during
whenever
a
you
round.
need to. Yeah.
If you have to. All right. Also, I forgot to mention my email. Mortarpod@seemsgoodmagic.com, or you can click on contact us at seemsgoodmagic.com to get a hold of me. So if you have any, if you have any particular weird harvests you want to see, we'll take suggestions for sure. Or the Seems Good Magic card giveaway, which I've been doing every week, and that's been a lot of fun. So check out that segment too. All right, I think that's it. I think we're done.
Later.
See you next week.